Welcome to the Monks Academy, a DeFi educational channel where we explore the realm of decentralized finance so you can take charge of your financial future. A project powered by the Om Monks for the Om Finance community. Today, the Monks are super excited to be able to chat to Om's early contributors, ICX Stations, Pad 9, Iconosphere, and Protocol 7. And really, there's no better way to kick off the first discussion as the Monks Academy. Thank you very much for coming on, and it's a real pleasure having you guys. So, guys, do you want to take turns introducing yourselves and also a bit about your role as early contributors to the protocol?
I would say development work / design work. So more of a jack of all trades at this point for Ohm specifically. Yep.
Fantastic. Pad 9?
Hey, so I'm Lisa, and we've got Peter here as well.
Hey.
And so we're a design team, and so we've been in Icon for nearly 2 years now, just working on design-related projects for the ecosystem. So we are the designers behind Balance, and we designed and also Bridge. For specifically, we're focused on the design for the UI, the product design, the website, and any of the marketing-related materials on Twitter, as well as documentation.
Great, fantastic. Protocol 7, how about yourself?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Robbie. I'm the founder of Protocol 7. We were responsible for the front-end engineering of OMM. The Peter pit's quite fresh. I decided to go for it since the OMM was great success, and I've decided to contribute even more to the icon. So our goal is to bring more DApps like OMM on icon. And yeah, that's it more or less from my side.
Great. In Iconosphere, how about yourself?
Yeah, so Iconosphere, we're primarily a development shop, and we've been working with Icon very closely for the last few years, building tools and various products like the CPS, the proposal systems, and in Ohm we are participating in the role of developing the smart contract side of the product, and so some of our team members are also involved with Balanced network as well. So yeah, and so we primarily development focused, working on back end and smart contracts side of the things.
Great. It's really happy to have you guys. If anyone listening in has any questions, at any point, please feel free to just raise the hand icon. Click the raise hand icon. I'll get you on. All right, guys. I think let's get straight into it. I6 Station. Maybe I can ask you this one. Obviously, as you said, is a smooth running product, but I'm sure a lot of hard work has gone into the protocol itself. Can you give us a sense of what it was like to get the protocol to what it is today? How did the building blocks come together? How long did it take? Give us a sense of the work that went in.
Yeah, so I think actually I mentioned this multiple times at this point. But at ICX Station, we've always been thinking about what is a good use case for blockchain in general, right? And where can ICX or Icon really shine? And we thought, maybe we saw this whole DeFi thing happening last year, and I think the DeFi made sense because blockchain really, in a sense, enables transfer of value, just like internet is transferring information, right? So, we thought DeFi is definitely going to be a fundamental, it's a core infrastructure of any blockchain ecosystem. And if you think about each blockchain ecosystem as a digital nation, you need kind of finance system for each of these digital nations. So after that, then what do we build on DeFi? How can you make DeFi successful on Icon? and we kind of observed the Ethereum ecosystem and like what were kind of being like the building blocks of the Ethereum DeFi ecosystem, and saw that there were a few kind of building blocks. So those include the DEX like Uniswap, synthetic platforms like Maker, and then like money markets like Aave and Compound. So maybe it probably makes sense to kind of work with the contributors in the ecosystem together to build something like these Lego blocks. That's how Balance came about, and that's how Ohm came about. And that's kind of the story. Icon, I think, is interesting because, there will be more like chains connected to Icon through BTPs. And the idea here is that there isn't really a cross-chain lending market in existence right now. And I think we think it's like a kind of great opportunity for Ohm or even Balance to utilize these like a BTP solutions to bridge over different assets to create like a real like a cross-chain DeFi products, which hasn't been quite explored yet. So that's how I got started.
Fantastic. I'm always curious to find out, a protocol that has contributors, all around the world. How does that? I'm sure you probably not even met together in person. How does it all come together when you have a working environment such that everyone's spread out across the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's actually on our plan to hopefully all get together at one point. You're right that we like some of folks here I haven't actually met in person at all, but I think we kind of basically everyone was like talking about like what to build on Icon, and then as through those discussions, like, oh, maybe it'd be fun to build something like this, right? And then like through those discussions, oh, maybe if you're interested as well, like let's work together. And that's just like how it kind of got together. I think really the benefit here was that everyone was like really active contributor in the Icon community, so it wasn't really hard to get everyone together to kind of work on these because everyone was so excited about the idea.
That's great. I just want to ask, get everyone else's thoughts. If I was to ask, each one of you to kind of reflect on your journey so far with the Ohm Finance protocol, what are your most proudest contributions so far for the protocol? Maybe I can start with Parrot 9.
Yeah. Even though there are some affordance issues to solve still in the interface, I'm quite happy with the simplicity of it. Every time I second guess some of the design decisions, I still come back to the same conclusions, which I find quite reassuring. In design, there are no easy answers, but I find if you ruminate on the problem long enough, you should always end up at the same conclusion. And the other thing is the interface is still in its infancy as well. It doesn't have key elements like the APY charts, which would be nice to add to have a full-featured product. So I'm pretty proud of the interface in its current incarnation, but want to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, I love the interface, the whole UI and the user experience. I love it so far.
Yes.
Protocol, sir, maybe you can add to the front end development side of things. What are you proud about the contribution so far?
Yeah, so from Protocol 7 side, I think we are the most proud about connecting this amazing UI with the blockchain, so with the score side, and making it all work on for the user, and of course also thinking on the smoothest user experience and usability. I think that's the one thing we are the most proud that we successfully engineered the front-end side and connected all the important pieces of the puzzle.
It's great. Iconosphere.
Yeah. So from my side, I think I've been in the software development space for a while, having worked for startups, big companies, what have you, and this is probably the first project, given the fact that we're all geographically separated, some of the team members not even having met each other, and in general having a very, very, amazingly smooth product development process. And when I look back at my earlier career, in high intensity startups, toxic environments, having gone through all that, this was probably, the best software development project that I kind of embarked in, where, the whole, the process from start to finish, finish as in the current, stage of the product, where, I can't, if I look back, I can't remember a single kind of incident where we had sort of difficulty or issues in terms of working with the team. It all came out so beautifully that, when I look back at it, I'm pretty proud of what we've been able to kind of assemble together and work together to get this out.
Yeah, it's. I see it a lot on crypto Twitter as well. A lot of people who've joined in from the traditional work environment really love. They obviously think it's high intensity, but they somehow resonate with other people in saying that working in this environment is different and it's really rewarding at the same time. So yeah, I6 Station. How about you to just wrap it up?
Yeah, no, I think can't echo enough what Iconosphere just mentioned. I think the overall experience, this is COVID, everyone's working remote, but some of us, we haven't really met in person at all, but just we just had these calls, communicate over Slack, and I think people were very, collaborative effort, and I think this is a really shows a good example of a DAO. To me, this is interesting because it's also not built by one team, right? It's kind of started as a DAO because it's being worked by different teams. And I think because it has kind of stemmed from that kind of a DAO ethos from the first place when it was when it was being built, we feel that can be very expandable to monks and the overall Om community in general.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how everything is coming together. It's like a different world people are just getting used to working in. It's really fantastic to see. I just want to just get Parrot 9s and Protocol 7 just to add a bit about what they spoke earlier on the front end. Obviously the magic happens behind the veil, so to speak, in the back end of the protocol, but the users only really see or relate to the front end. So hence, I feel UI and the user experience is so important for a DeFi protocol. Can you tell us a bit about the process, the research you guys had to do, to understand the profile of typical, Icon user? I mean, DeFi is not something that the Icon user was used to or was used to using. So how did it all come together to get the front end, the UI, absolutely perfect?
That's a good question. We tend to focus less on user profiles and more on design philosophy. Our mantra when designing anything is asking ourselves, does this reduce user time and effort? And if the answer is no, we're very hesitant to do it. Luckily with Om, we could take a lot of what we had learned with Balanced and use that as the foundation to build upon. The other thing is we felt Om had to be consistent as possible to Balance, because they were going to share a lot of the utility on the network. So why not make them as seamless as we possibly can?
Yeah. Well, was it in terms of Balanced and Om, to separate the two? Was it something that y'all had planned in mind, or it just came out that way in terms of the UI and then the user experience?
Yeah, it was one of those cases where we were trying to avoid doing stuff that was from balance unless we had a really good reason to. We didn't initially want our design balance to over-inform what we did with OM and to over-influence the direction of that might not be the right path forwards. So we did go through a number of different variations of the design first, but over time, like from simplifying it down, like when we design, it's all a process of elimination. Initially, when we went into this process, a task was to make an Aave and compound clone, but we wanted to massively simplify on what they'd done. So we were just eliminating as much as we could. So we just had the information that was necessary. And over time, from doing that, we realized that the way we'd solved the problems with balance was just as applicable in this case. So we embraced that to be able to allow for proper conventions to be established across both DeFi platforms to really complement each other so that they help users who are using both platforms.
That's great. Protocol 7, how is the front end? Because even me myself, I'm not a tech guy or a design guy, but sometimes differentiating the difference between front end and the user experience is a bit confusing for me. How did the whole thing come to you from your side?
Yeah, so I have to give a shout out to Parrot9 because they were like the big brain behind the UI and UX design. I was more of like a connector to the blockchain, so more like an engineer that then connected all the parts. But I think in general, they really did an amazing job with that, and I actually didn't have to worry about that as much. Of course, there was a feedback loop between us to improve in certain parts through time. But yeah, like in general, I just have to give like the majority of the props to Parrot9 for the user experience and design. That's for definitely, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Sorry. Yep.
I have to say, Robbie is amazing to work with as well. It couldn't have come together without his help, and he is a truly talented front-end engineer.
He definitely made a lot of the interactions a lot smoother.
Thank you, Robbie.
It's definitely a group effort.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Just seeing, obviously using balance before OM, I was actually, very, very surprised because obviously I've been an Ethereum user and, been exposed to a lot of their protocols, and the UI is fantastic on balance and OM. Something I guess a lot of the Ethereum DeFi protocols, you take a leaf out of your book. Maybe you can give a course to some of the protocols.
Education is definitely on our list of to-dos.
I just want to get in Iconosphere on this one. Obviously, the real engine room of a DeFi product is the smart contracts. One of the main features of smart contracts, is composability. There's a lot of things to think about in terms of the contract upgradability. How feasible it is, the most cost efficient way to upgrade contracts. On the contract complexity side. Can you tell us a bit about the smart contract development side of on OM?
Sure. Yeah. So obviously, we're kind of like standing on the shoulders of giants, right? And the giants in this case being, Aave and Compound. So they kind of, I guess, went through the challenges of how do you architect an application in a blockchain sort of ecosystem, right? Which is fundamentally different from your traditional applications design. So we learned a lot from their learnings on and their design choices in terms of things like focusing towards like event-driven design and architecture. Sorry, my event-driven design, because in blockchain there's a fundamental limitation that a smart contract within a blockchain can never initiate anything. The initiation action always has to come from outside, right? And then if you start doing batch processing within the smart contract, that's never going to scale, because as your users increases, it's just going to increase more and more time to get through your processing. So so some of these like key tenets, we did kind of learn from how learnings of Aave and Compound, because they also went through these trials and tribulations of having to scale their application. And then taking that knowledge, and then because we've been working in the Icon ecosystem for a while, we kind of understood the limitations or the quirks of, let's say, Icon blockchain, and to kind of fit that on the Icon space, and also not just quirk, but also the beauty that in Icon you can use Python to write your score, and which is fundamentally more expressive and more idiomatic than say Solidity, right? Yeah. So we're able to write more expressive smart contract that can be maintained easily down the road, so we and as you mentioned, keeping in mind the upgradability aspect, and so that basically comes down to managing states properly with a good visibility of state, so that when you the only thing constant in software is change, right? So knowing that you would always be adding features, providing those sort of interface and layers, so you could add onto the software down the road.
Yeah, great. I'm actually just doing a small course on Udemy about Solidity and smart contracts. I've not really halfway through, not really found the time to continue that. But I just curious, like in case the listeners watching it, if they want to do some obviously smart contracts and that's that kind of things in programming, if it's not a first thing for them or first language for them, what do you recommend? Anything that you can recommend for someone if someone wants to learn about Solidity or even other programming languages in crypto, in blockchain?
I don't have any specific material off the top of my mind, but I would recommend that I think learning the limitations of writing an application in the blockchain environment, learning that limitation early on will probably put you in a faster path to write better smart contracts, because it's fundamentally different from how you would normally write software that you would deploy on your backend server that talks to the database, and then how you scale it. So a lot of that old paradigm kind of goes out the window, and you have to think more in terms of writing your software within the limitation of how blockchain works. Like, for example, when you always send a transaction to initiate an action, and then that transaction has to be mined within a block. So which means you cannot do very CPU intensive work in your smart contract that it could delay the formation of the block. It could have repercussion for others, right? Yeah. So and these are I feel are lessons you will learn along the way as you learn, as you program, deploy, debug, and troubleshoot. I guess my suggestion probably would be to just start with the hello world on Solidity and just deploy it, and then try to kind of understand like how it is actually running, what are the limitations, and I think that'll probably put you in a right path to write a better D apps.
Fantastic. I think you guys, also Iconosphere mentioned about, scalability, security. I just want to get everyone's take on, the hurdles that you guys, had to overcome to get to get the protocol launched. Maybe I can start with you, DK, ISIC Station.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, just on the hurdles that you guys had to overcome to get the protocol launched.
That's a tough question. I think let's see. The reward side, I think the Econosphere can probably elaborate more on this, but we were gonna do like a balanced type of a daily rewards on OM as well. But given a lot of the feedback on balance, like the people want like a more of a block basis rewards, and given that that's kind of the case for most Ethereum DeFi apps, I think we kind of worked out last minute to make it into a real-time reward basis. And then I think Iconosphere team did a great job of being able to pull that off in a relatively short time frame.
Fantastic. Protocol 7?
Yeah, I guess I could add to that a little bit. So this again comes back down to understanding the limitations of blockchain, where traditionally on traditional applications, you generally think in terms of doing batch processing across multiple users to let's say if you want to do, let's say for example, if you want to do a reconciliation at the end of the day, traditionally at the end of the day backend process would kick off that would pull out every user's reconciliation and go through the reconciliation process, right? But that sort of paradigm does not work on blockchain because it won't scale. You're sharing the resources with other apps, and you cannot hog the CPU from other apps as well. So it has to be more event driven and at the time computation. So if a user is coming to claim a reward, you have to compute just for that user and not like compute across all the users and say that here's the pie, this is how it's distributed, and each one gets this much, so your portion is this. You cannot go you cannot like architect in that sense. You have to kind of architect in a sense where here's the pool, here's this user's portion, and there's how this is how this users gets. So if you kind of design from that angle, then your app becomes more scalable, and you don't care like how many users come and participate in the let's say OM ecosystem.
Yeah. Protocol 7, what are the kind of challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges was to keep the environment clean and up to date with the latest features. I think that was especially quite the challenge because on the score side, so on the blockchain, we were deploying a lot of environments because of course with like all of the new scores incoming incrementally, the stuff has kind of been breaking because there were so many new interactions and old states and new states being combined, which of course can lead to some troubles. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges to keep the environments clean in development. But I think after we came over this hurdle, it was much more straightforward. So after all of the scores were established, I think it was much easier, but in between, when this was still kind of in the air, being composed, it was really, really difficult to not break stuff in development. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that I think was one of the biggest challenges that I can say. Yeah.
Okay. But Paradigm, how about yourself on the design side?
Yeah, one of the most unexpected hurdles, I guess, came right near the end. So we had the home and the vert pages pretty much ready to go, and we were just waiting for Bridge to be finalized before we could launch. And then we were talking through with the balance team, and we learned that liquidity providers would need to stake LP tokens to earn rewards. They wouldn't be able to go through the existing balance interface like we have for balance incentivized pools, just for composability reasons. It's not scalable when you have a lot of third-party assets listed on balance, and so we were going to need to handle the ability to stake LP tokens and earn rewards on itself. And so that was a bit of a hurdle we had to overcome right at the last minute, just so it required us to add a new page. The biggest hurdle with that was trying to do it in a way that didn't become super complex for our users, because we designed it for people who were brand new to this, and it was focused on a money market. We didn't want it to suddenly become all about supply and liquidity and doing this really advanced stuff on a different platform entirely. And so there was a bit of reworking we had to do right near the end to allow that to work. And that was combined with the fact that we also introduced staking rewards. So initially, we weren't tying any rewards to staking It was purely for a governance factor. So we didn't overemphasize it in the interface because it was kind of optional. Like, it didn't matter if you staked or not. It only mattered if you wanted to participate in governance.
Yeah.
But as rewards became tied to that, we had to be able to emphasize it more to be able to help people to understand that there were rewards that were tied to that, and just different ways of surfacing it and integrating it into the UI that we hadn't done previously. And so initially, when we were working through some of this stuff, we started off with a liquidity page, but that was too advanced, and it just made the whole product look instantly far more complex. And so in the end, we ended up with the rewards page that kind of encompasses all of it into one page with the staking and the liquidity pool rewards, just trying to simplify it as much as possible. But yeah, because it came right near the end, it was a bit challenging just to get it in a way that was simple enough. And it meant that we couldn't spend as much time testing it with users as we usually would with our other pages and that kind of thing. So that was probably our biggest hurdle that we had to encounter right before the launch. But so far, it seems right.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what you said, I think when I also started using the LP tokens, and I think some users also took some time to get their head around it. So basically, they were kind of confused in terms of when you want to see your total assets, what you deposited. They were confused why they couldn't see it on balance, but then obviously you could see it on Ohm. So that was initially, it took some time to get used to, but I think they got around to it.
Yeah, it's one of the problems of making the balance one so simple, because we don't surface the LP tokens there. The sudden need to do that with other projects, it certainly did just instantly add to that complexity there. But yeah, I'm hoping that most people have not found a problem with it.
Yeah, I think that in the first couple of days, and after that, I didn't see too much of questions on the general chat. I think it's pretty much sorted. But
Yeah,
sorry, no.
Oh no, it's okay. You're...
No, I think one of the concerns right now that the community seems to be having trouble to figure out is on the ICE airdrop DK ICE station over the last few days. We're debating a few different options of how best to negate the issues the protocol is facing with executing the ICE drop for home users. So for the community members, listening in who are not aware of the issue, I urge you to go through the pin message on the governance channel for further details. But essentially, the issue is, you can borrow SICX on Ohm, and that borrowed ICX, may be able to claim ICE tokens. So the debate is going on how the protocol can prevent that from happening or alleviate it to a large extent. What do you guys see, as the best solution for this? Maybe I can start with iSeek station on this?
Right. I think it's tough spot. I mean, when Ohm was kind of going on, like there was no expectation of ice in the first place, so really didn't think about this edge case scenario. And it's kind of rare for, I think, native tokens to do like airdrops to all the token holders. So there is not that many precedents, especially like the ones where there's more DeFi ecosystem, like active DeFi ecosystem. I haven't heard of a case where like there's been an airdrop for all the ETH holders, right? And like if there was a previous case which worked out well, we could have looked into it, but obviously there's no previous example. So we're kind of like, starting from scratch here, and did a lot of brainstorming internally a little bit, try to talk some of the foundation guys who have a little bit more details on the ice. But since a lot of folks were asking about ice, I think kind of started proposing some different ideas to get what the community thinks about it. But in the end, what it is money market enables you to lend ICX, but also let someone else borrow ICX, right? Mm-hmm. And then based on the conversation with the foundation, it's going to be impossible for them to track like which ICX is from Ohm versus which is not, right? So it sounds like it is kind of up for the Ohm protocol along with the community to kind of figure things out. And it seems like so far the clean solution is to just, get rid of borrowing SICX. Get rid of borrowing SICX, right? I mean, that's kind of the reason why this whole ice has been a little bit more difficult than Balance, because on Balance, no one's like borrowing your SICX from Balance protocol. But Ohm, because of its money market nature, someone is going to borrow SICX. And once those are borrowed, it's because it's a fungible token. No one can really distinguish if it's from like Ohm and whatnot. And these guys can use them on Balance. And then it's going to be like deposited on the Balance protocol. Like obviously Balance protocol has no idea if this is going to came from Ohm or not. So it does become more difficult. And then that's why the proposal that's been made so far on the governance chat is, what is a way to get rid of borrow SICX in the first place, right? So I think a lot of people are probably borrowing SICX at the moment mostly to do more of a liquidity mining or use them on Balance, for example. So basically to earn more yield. So what the proposal has been is to get rid of the Ohm rewards on the borrow of SICX, disable borrow of SICX, and then spike up the interest rates on the borrow SICX. And then obviously that has to go through the community governance vote. But once that goes through the vote, hopefully we'll see how the community feels about it. And as most of the borrower SICX have been paid back because the borrower interest rate is so high that you're not earning Ohm rewards anymore, basically most folks in the SICX would be able to get close to one ICX if that goes according to the scenario. And that's kind of the proposal that's out there right now on the governance channel.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot because obviously when you take out borrowing, you're kind of handicapping the protocol in terms of revenue. So how long are we going to turn it off? So many questions that come up, and as you also mentioned about the fungibility, how are we going to figure out which is which? There's quite a few concerns to figure out. Pad9, any thoughts on the whole thing?
Not really. This is kind of above our high level. Like, we don't really too involved on the tokenomics side. That's not something we have a lot of expertise in.
All right. So just to go a bit on the governance side of things, iSeek Station. I think we spoke last week or the week before on a governance discussion, and you did mention it's about a few weeks away on-chain governance. Any update on that?
Right. So that's currently being actively worked on. It's the priority for early contributors right now, all from our aspects, from smart contract to front-end development to design work. Kind of hate to give out a date because that builds up an expectation, but we would say probably within the next 1 to 2 weeks is kind of the goal internally here, to have something out for the community to start voting on. Yep.
Okay. So on the front end side, what kind of governance features can we expect? Is it going to be a bit similar to Balance, how it works with a forum and a discussion board and things like that? Brad 9?
Yeah, very similar to that of Balance. We've made sure to keep it consistent between the two platforms, so there is minimal cognitive load for users switching between the apps. I'll push an update to the demo over the weekend that'll include how the new governance interface will look. But yeah, we'll use Discourse as our forum, but I still need to create the OM theme for it first, which I'll also work on over the next few days.
But yeah, initially it'll just be text proposals, so people will be able to submit their own proposals, but just text only. Whereas on Balance at the moment, you've got a selection of different proposal types that you can auto-execute after they've been approved. But on, we'll just be starting with the text proposals, and we can add additional proposal types later on.
Great. On the, just want to get Iconosphere on this one. Obviously, for the listeners, on the discussion, listening to the discussion, obviously on-chain governance, we've heard about it. It's a key topic in any DeFi protocol. What does it actually mean? What needs to happen from a blockchain point of view, a network point of view, for the protocol, to have on-chain governance? What does it entail?
Right. So I think I see. I guess it kind of goes on the ethos of decentralization, right? With the community making bulk of the decision for the platform going forward. But like in any, I think, decentralization, it's kind of a spectrum and it's a progressive path with, a small community kind of building the product and then slowly walking down the path of decentralization. So I guess in our case also, it's probably going to be on that similar theme that initially the governance platform will be used to get the community's opinion on what should be, how should the platform change. But the change initially probably will be managed by a few people will probably execute it on behalf of the community. But as we move to Icon 2.0, with Icon 2.0 providing a better functionality in terms of how a score is able to own other score, we'll be walking more and more on the path towards decentralization, where a governance vote, if it's a success, could auto execute and take action on the score to upgrade the score. So it will be more and more towards the community owning the platform going forward.
Yeah, I think there's with Balance also we saw there were other forms of apart from on-chain governance. There's off-chain. They were trying to set up an off-chain vote early on Balance, and that was not very well received by the community. So everyone is really on for on-chain governance, and also on the Ethereum side of things, you have off-chain alternatives like you see Snapshot and things like that. So it's really interesting, the whole thing coming together. I just want, as early contributors, I really want to get your insight just on your kind of what kind of proposals. Where do you want the community voting on? What kind of direction do you want the protocol, and what kind of proposals do you hope to see people voting on? Maybe I can start with iSeek Station on this one.
Yeah. So I think governance is really interesting, right? Because it enables any of these users to be able to propose something that can benefit the protocol and the overall community. So I think it can really range to a wide things, right? So I think a few proposals that are interesting, obviously, in preparation for ICE, there will be a proposal, basically to see like what should be done for the borrowed SICX balance, right? Which we've kind of discussion is going on right now in the governance channel. A few other proposals that would be interesting, I think, would be something like, what should monks do, right? For example, I think monks are kind of like considered now ambassadors of OHM project, and then obviously these ambassadors need some resources to, execute on these ideas. So what are ways a DAO governance can enable that? Maybe there can be a vote to use a portion of the DAO fund so that monks can kind of use it as long as it's kind of passed their multisig, for example. Other things can include stuff like adding more assets. People have been asking, when is balance going to be added? When is BNUSD going to be added? When is OHM going to be added, right? Yeah. Those are going to be all like, through governance. And not only that, but when the reason why people want to add balance and BNUSD and OHM is so that they can earn more OHM rewards. So the governance will also decide how much of the OHM rewards that are currently being dedicated to liquidity mining will be shifted from existing assets like SICX or stablecoins to other, new assets that are being added, right? So it's going to be pretty interesting to see like what the community comes up with and what kind of discussions the community has. I do want to emphasize that it's very important to have enough discussions, because on-chain governance is just like any governance process. It's a pretty slow process, and I think it's especially a bit more slower, just because people have to vote. So I'd recommend, I think it's best to like have enough, discussions on Discord and forum before like proposing something. So, yep.
Yeah, that's true, because on-chain governance, is not a cheap exercise. It's very costly to obviously execute and to maintain and to take forward. So I think it's important that the right decisions and it's well thought out before it actually goes on to an on-chain vote. So I think it's really important. Maybe I can ask Protocol 7 in terms of what kind of things that you want in terms of proposals.
So I think that one of the things I would like to see first is to add as many new assets as possible. But looking more on the long run, I think I would like to see a lot of stuff being built on top of BTP. So I'm looking more onto the other chains. So how can we bring also liquidity from the outside to the OMM to grow even more? So I'm really excited to see Icon 2.0 to come into play, and hope that the governance will keep an eye on it and try to implement as many features that will be connecting through its BTP ability to the other chains. I think that's the one thing we're looking forward the most.
Great. Iconosphere, what are your thoughts on it? Iconosphere? I think you're on.
Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. I was talking to myself for a while there. So, I was saying, I think the low hanging fruits for initially would be the other assets within the Icon ecosystem, utilizing the DeFi composability that you mentioned earlier, right? Like balance, BNUSD. But down the road, I think I'm more excited to kind of see how this whole space as it's evolving, where you see NFTs kind of coming into the gaming space, and NFT itself kind of being a sector in its own, and how Aave is kind of looking to support NFT as a collateral for taking out loans. So, I'm hoping, within the near future, hopefully, the Icon ecosystems NFT can grow. That there be a demand that we could support, say, NFT collateral on Ohm, and down the road, with the work on BTP that's going on, hopefully. We can even look into bringing in assets from other cross-chain assets into Ohm and expand it.
Fantastic. Paradigm, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I come from a security background and like to be proactive. So for me, I would like to see the DAO fund being used for bug bounties and additional security audits. On ImmuneFi, which is a bug bounty platform where Balanced is listed, all the serious DeFi contenders have bounties ranging from $100,000 to $1 million for the highest priority bugs.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see us putting ourselves out there for a few more of those, just so that we can make sure that our code is as stable as possible, just especially if we are trying to get more assets and with BTP functionality and that kind of thing. Like, I think it's just important to be as proactive as possible to make sure there's no possibility to exploit the system and our users. In addition to that, it would just be more like in the way of exchange listings and any kind of business development initiatives that will increase the use cases for and just to grow the user base in general.
Yeah, well said. I think scalability, has to come with security. So I think it's very well said on that aspect. I just want to get my final question in. I think everyone kind of echoed the sentiments on BTP and ICE and Icon 2.0. ICE Station, how is Ohm going to leverage on BTP and ICE, and how long, if the community decides okay, there's a particular asset on for example Nia protocol or any other BTP chain that they're going to Icon's going to interact with, what kind of timeline are we talking about?
Well, that's more of a up to, I think, question for Icon, just because we don't know when the BTP will be live, right? So I think that's more of a discussion of like when the BTP will actually go live. But once BTP goes live, I think like a community can kind of form a governance on. I think it should be done like a step by step. Like we shouldn't try to add like 5 different assets just because like BTP just got connected. So it'd be good to kind of start like with one asset at a time earlier on, at least, to see like how that cross-chain thing works out on the Ohm protocol. And then once like if you go with the 2 or 3 examples and then it proves out, it'd be interesting to see add more assets. But I do want to emphasize that the money market is only as strong as the weakest asset, which means that basically if any asset specifically plummets or is very volatile where it's not fit for money market, it actually all the members that interact with Ohm is going to have to suffer from it, even though they have not really interacted with that specific asset, because the way current money market is designed is that all those assets are kind of combined. So just something to keep in mind. I mean, I'm obviously very excited that more assets will be added to Ohm as well, but it is somewhat a delicate process that people have to be careful about and pay a bit of special attention to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think from my side, I've really asked all the questions I really want to ask. Any members listening in want to have any questions, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I just want to get your closing remarks. Any final thoughts from each of you? Maybe I can start with Paradigm.
Not really too much to add. I would just say thank you all for the support you've shown us with the platform so far. It's been great to see just the initial feedback and just how many people have been using it and putting faith in the work that we do. So just thank you all for being awesome community members.
That's great. maybe Protocol 7?
Yeah, I as well would really like to thank you all for supporting the project, for growing as a community, and especially to you for making this happen. I think it has been really amazing to state our opinions on certain matters, and I would really like to see us do that more often in the future. But for now, really, thanks again for everything, and looking forward to grow together with you as a community and us as kind of the main contributors to the protocol.
Yeah, fantastic. I think we will have more involvement from the early contributors. So we hope as monks kind of to support the connection between the early contributors and the community. I think that's really important, and I think as monks we're here to facilitate that. Iconosphere.
Yeah, I would just like to, thank you for organizing this, and thank you for being part of the community. And yeah, let's work together to grow the community, and hope we can add more exciting features and functionality. But also more than features and functionality, one thing that that kind of like motivate us is how do we bring this to more non-crypto native people, right? And I think our initiative with Bridge is one aspect of that. But hopefully, we'll find other better opportunities and solutions to bring in folks outside of the regular like crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think we're having a couple of sessions with key influencers and people in the community. We'd hope to have a couple of sessions, how to bring Ohm to non-crypto users. I think stay tuned for that one. It's going to be a really interesting one. I6 Station, final thoughts?
No, I'll echo everyone else. Thank you for hosting this. This was great. And it was great to hear other people's opinion. And I think you kind of came up with a great list of questions. I think just a final thought is, we're really all building this together at this point. So kind of think about how, as a community member, you want to position Ohm, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of DeFi protocols, so Ohm probably needs some sort of position and where it wants to kind of play. I think that's kind of something the community overall has to come up with, right? And then see what can be done over there. For example, like, do you want to be like a DeFi protocol that's like most friendly to non-crypto users, right? If that's going to be the focus, then, as a community, we should try to figure out like how do we achieve that goal. And I think the fun part is like we're all in this together as a DAO, and it's not like like a company where like a specific number of people are really working on it, but overall community can really not only think about it, brainstorm, bring up ideas, but also like help execute it, right? So definitely looking forward to working with the community to make a lot of things work for our own protocol.
Well said. Thank you very much, I6 Station, Parad9, Iconosphere, Protocol 7, for your time. It's been a real pleasure having you guys, chatting with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Guys, finally, for everyone listening in, before we go, I'd like to add, we're actually looking for content contributors for the Monks Academy, with a view to providing DeFi content to the channel. So if you think you have what it takes, get in touch, reach out to us on the Monks Academy channel, and be on the lookout on the channel, because we'll be providing more information on that in the future. And also we'll be running a contest later in the week, towards the weekend. So stay tuned for that one as well. It's a really interesting one. Thank you very much. If there's any other questions anyone wants to mention, this is your final opportunity. It's not always you get the early contributors at your disposal. All right. That's it then. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.